at how to do some text wrapping and also how to do drop caps. We're going to start with the text wrap. I'm going to use this picture that I have here, and I'm going to start by just single clicking on it. This works. We can start with our text wrap box. So I'm going to go to Window and then Text Wrap. And if we have just a picture like this, we can choose to apply the text wrap. Notice I have it selected. I'm going to click on the second option, which is Wrap Around Bounding Box, and my text will jump around that. I have options to adjust how much space is at the top, the left, the right, and the bottom. This picture is a little big, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to hold my Command and Shift key and click and drag to make it a little smaller so we can see what's happening here. As I look on the right, this is like bad text wrapping. We never want to have our text right up against an image. So you click on your image, and then here's where we can increase the distance, and you can see there's a little guide that shows up around the outside that allows us to make changes. It does jump a little funny though. It's based on your leading, which is your line space basically between your lines of text. And the top is a little too much. So I'm going to unlink these, and I'm going to go up here to the top offset, and I'm going to reduce this and see if I can make it look a little more natural, if you will. So that looks better. I'd of course want to line up my image probably on the left so it actually lines up with my text. Those little adjustments are really minor things that make the reader feel like your page is more finished and complete and gives a higher aesthetic. So it's always good to make sure that you're paying attention to those really tiny details, because they will make a difference in the overall professional feel and finish of your document. So that's your basic text wrap. But here's what's cool that you can do. If you have a background that's blank, and I think it may even work if your background is all the same color, you can create what's called a clipping mask really easily. So if you go to the Object menu and we choose Clipping Path and then go over to Options, it brings up a dialog box for it. I always hit Preview so I can see what's going on with this. You're going to change the type from None to Detect Edges. And what you're going to see is this little path, a clipping path that shows up around it. Now, if you change your threshold, you might get some crazy things. And of course, if you go to the extreme, that's not what we want. Often your threshold is down pretty low, around 25. Your tolerance is how close it's going to be around the edge. So if I make a higher tolerance, if I make a higher tolerance number, it's going to actually eliminate some of those spots. So if you go closer, we get a whole bunch of dots. That ends up making the file really big. I'm going to leave it close to where it was at. I think it was at like 2. It just takes some time to get used to and know how to adjust that. So I hit OK. And now what we're going to find is that over on my text wrap, watch what happens when I choose. I'm going to switch to my selection tool here and then click on my picture. Now when I choose text wrap, if I choose wrap around object shape, it's going to go all the way around and kind of into the image. Now I have that frame that was on the box. Why can't I get rid of that? I don't want to anymore. So I'm going to hit my stroke, and then I'm just going to go and choose None. All right, so I can see my image, my text going around, and that's crazy wonky. And you never want to have text going into an image. It makes it really hard to read your text, and people give up on that. It's hard enough to get people to read anyway. So let's make sure that this type of thing with our text going all the way down and kind of spacing out here goes away. So when I click on this option, I'm going to definitely want to increase this, and it may be the case that I really don't want to have it going down here at all. And it's a much bigger text wrap. Now this really isn't a great image for this, but it clearly demonstrates how it can work. For some reason, I can't turn this stuff off. Wrap to, yeah, you've got some different options here that we can change to, that we might be able to get it to look a little bit better. But those are some things that you just have to play around with, and eventually you'll find the right combination for you. So that's your clipping mask and wrapping text. Now for the drop caps. Drop caps can make some really interesting, cool things. You can see this is a drop cap here. I just took the first letter and made it like that. You can click anywhere inside of the paragraph, and we're going to open what's called the paragraph palette. So go to the menu, the window menu, and then type in tables, and we choose paragraph. Window menu, type in tables, and then paragraph. So here's our paragraph menu, and what we're going to choose. Now remember, this is just inside of the paragraph that I want to apply this to. I'm going to go to the little hamburger menu, and then down to drop caps and nested styles. I can choose how many lines my drop cap is going to be, and I can choose how many characters it's going to be. Typically, you wouldn't see a full name or like a full word, but depending on what your overall layout is meant to be and what you're trying to capture in your message, it could be very, very useful. 3 lines is typically all that you go, but again, you might find an appropriate time where you're doing more. And of course, there are some other options here that you may need to turn on, but that preview button is going to allow you to see that as you're working.